And we're live.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Housing Commission September 1st, 2021 regular meeting. This is a teleconference meeting with Housing Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing in this federal, state, and local emergency. I will call the meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. And I want to start by acknowledging that I am in Menlo Park on Ramaytush Ohlone land, and by introducing the staff and Housing Commission members present. So myself, Karen Grove, Rachel Horst, Vice Chair, Heather Leach, Nirvana Merriman, and staff member, and absent right now is expected absent Lauren Bigelow, and perhaps soon to be here, but not yet here, Chelsea Nguyen and John Pimentel. So for staff, we have Deputy Community Development Director Rhonda Kaufman and Management Analyst 2 Mike Noche and Associate Planner Matt Pruder. So Mike, would you please provide instructions to the Housing Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the Housing Commission. Welcome everyone to the September 1st meeting of the Menlo Park Housing Commission. At this time, we ask that members of the Housing Commission please remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. You will control your own webcams and microphones. Staff will engage cameras and microphones to make presentations and to respond to members of the Housing Commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for the public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raised hand feature, or via telephone, press *9 to raise your hand to speak. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you can provide your public comment to the Housing Commission. And that is all of the instructions I have, and I will return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
All right. So we'll start with public comment, and under public comment, the public may address the Housing Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the Housing Commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The Housing Commission can't act on items that are not listed on the agenda, and therefore the Housing Commission can't respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. So, Mike, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for the items that you wish to speak on, please engage the raised hand feature. If you have just dialed in, you will use *9. I will then have the ability to open your microphone.
And I want to introduce Chelsea Nguyen, Commissioner Nguyen, who just joined us, and Commissioner Pimentel, who just joined us. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, it looks like we have 2 hands raised.
Right.
So I will bring our timer up. And our first public comment will be from Carolyn Shepard. And Carolyn, you should be able to unmute your microphone and address the Housing Commission.
I apologize. First, I don't have an agenda, so I just want to issue this public comment regarding affordable housing. So good evening. My name is Carolyn Shepard. I'm a member of the San Mateo County chapter of NAMI, which is National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I'm also the coordinator of Solutions for Supportive Homes. And Solutions for Supportive Homes was organized in 2019 by San Mateo County parents who are aging and have adult children with mental health and in some cases cognitive challenges. So we represent parents who are primarily supporting their children in their homes because the children cannot live independently. So we carry this sort of deep burden of deep concern about where are our children going to live and who's going to take care of them when we pass away. We do not want them to become the next group of homeless individuals with mental health issues living on the streets. So as cities are developing their housing elements plans, I urge you to find ways to include those who live with mental illness as part of your affordable housing plans. I'm sure there are parents in your community that would love for their children to continue to live safely in the community they grew up in. There are opportunities for housing, affordable housing developers to access what we call MHSA or Mental Health Services Act, special funds for housing units within their developments. The Department of Housing lists notices of funding availability for those affordable housing developers. Fair Oaks Commons in the southern part of Redwood City is an example of a development by Alta Housing of Palo Alto. So the units are not only made more affordable for the extremely low income persons with mental illness, but they also provide for support services to the individual so that they can live successfully and independently. So for cities in San Mateo County, I believe it's incumbent upon all of us to find ways to support those that need the additional help so that they can live in safe and transit and shopping accessible housing. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Carolyn. And we do have another public comment. And our next public commenter will be Kalisha Webster. And Kalisha, you should be able to unmute your microphone and address the Housing Commission.
Thank you, and good evening, commissioners. My name is Kalisha Webster, and I am a housing advocate for Housing Choices. Our goal is to increase opportunities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live independently in their communities. As part of the housing element process, all cities are required to plan for the unique housing needs of this population. Menlo Park is home to 167 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, of whom 79 are adults and 88 are under age 18. Just like everyone in attendance at this meeting tonight, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have life goals of being able to live on their own, get married, and even start families. It is important to them that they are able to do so in their hometowns, where they have established systems of support, and because most do not drive, where they are familiar with the area and can navigate the city on their own. Many of the city's residents with developmental disabilities rely on SSI, which has a maximum of only $955 per month as a major source of income. Unfortunately, because of the extremely high cost of living in this region, people with developmental disabilities will never be able to achieve their dream without action from cities and affordable housing developers to create extremely low and very low income housing. Take, for instance, a client that I began working with in April who wanted to live on his own near his full-time job at Trader Joe's. He has maintained his job for over 10 years, and because of his disability, it would be extremely difficult for him to start over somewhere new. But due to his wages, he earns too much to qualify for SSI and too little to qualify for a studio on his own. He has tried renting rooms, but struggles to live in shared housing because he works second shift and his late hours can sometimes affect other residents. So instead, for several years, he has been spending $1,000 per month to sleep on his uncle's couch. His story is only one of many for people with IDD wanting to live independently in Menlo Park. Of the 79 adults with IDD living in Menlo Park, 61 still live at home with family. What happens to these members of the community when their aging parents are no longer able to provide housing and financial support? I urge you all to make efforts to outreach to the special needs group and the many others which make up the diverse community of Menlo Park a priority in the housing element planning process. Everyone, regardless of race, class, or ability, deserves to have their voice heard in this critical plan, which will determine who can and cannot afford to live in Menlo Park for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kalisha. And one moment. And I do not see any additional hands raised, so I will return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to regular business. Under regular business, the Housing Commission receives informational presentations in addition to considering policy matters and administrative actions. Are there any clarifying questions from the Housing Commission on item D1, which is to approve the minutes from the Housing Commission meeting of August 4th, 2021, before we take public comment on the minutes? Okay. I don't have any clarifying questions, but I just want to let people know that while we were waiting for people to join, I let Mike Noche know the proper spelling of Kelsey Bain's name, and I believe he's going to make that correction. So with that, I will ask if there's any public comment on the minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to confirm, we'll make that administrative change. Thank you for flagging it. And just a reminder for members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, please use the raised hand feature, and I will have the ability to unmute your microphone and you may address the Housing Commission. And not seeing any hands raised, I will return the meeting to the chair.
Okay, so do I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
I'm moved to approve the minutes.
All right, Heather and Rachel seconds. Great. So Mike, do you want to do a roll call?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bigelow is absent. Commissioner Leach. I'll take that as a yes. Commissioner Merriman.
Yes.
Commissioner Nguyen. I believe that was a
Abstain.
yes. Oh, abstain. Thank you. Commissioner Pimentel.
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Horst.
Aye.
And Chair Grove.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Excuse me, 502 with Commissioner Nguyen abstaining. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to regular business item G2, which is recommendation of a below market rate housing agreement term sheet with Dan Beltramo for 1550 El Camino Real. And Associate Planner Matt Kruder will introduce the item.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Housing Commission, and members of the public. Thank you very much this evening. We're talking about the 1550 El Camino Real project and the request at this time to provide a recommendation of a below market rate housing agreement term sheet for this project, and just a few details for the project. It's located at it's a through lot that's located at the corner of El Camino Real and Encinal Avenue, and also Encinal Avenue and San Antonio Street in the El Camino downtown specific plan area along El Camino Real. And the scope of work is basically to construct a new 8-unit, 3-story multifamily townhouse building, and that would include 7 market rate units and 1 affordable housing unit of low income for BMR purposes. And of the 7, I should also clarify that 1 of the units would be ADA compliant as well, as per the requirements for housing of that type. As a result of the project, a portion of surface parking would be removed, and parking spaces on an existing surface parking lot would be reconfigured, and surface parking, generally speaking, would remain on site with some modifications to drive aisles and space locations. And each unit would be 3 stories and attached as one whole building, with the ground floor having a 2-car parking garage for each of the 8 units in question. There's also an office building located, and this building, I should clarify, is facing the San Antonio Street face of the building, the particular property line. And there is an existing office building located on the frontage facing El Camino Real that is not going to change. It is a 2-story office building that was built about 30 years ago, and it is proposed to remain, and no changes are proposed for that building. And so the office will function as currently it functions now, and it will also have the same parking allocation per the specific plan requirements, while this other housing is also being constructed on the lot. So those are the main components of the project. And we also have some heritage tree removal permit requests that have been in the review stages that I believe now have been issued. And so the appeal period for that particular request has concluded with no appeals given. And so that is another request. And this project, as you may be aware, will ultimately go to the Planning Commission for final approval. And if there is an appeal for that decision, it would be appealed to the City Council. And other than that, I'm happy to assist with any other questions on the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions from housing commissioners before we go to public comment?
I'm sorry, if I may, Madam Chair. Before the question, I should also clarify, we have with us today the applicant team of Jeremiah Tolbert and Jen Price as well. And if necessary, in the audience, we do have the property owner team of Dan and Margaret Beltramo and Diana Hewitt as well. If there are any questions for them, the applicant team would like to present following questions for me. I apologize for that interruption, but thank you.
Great. Go ahead, Rachel.
The applicant team is going to present, so I'm assuming they're going to go over the floor plans and the bedroom count, the square footage, and so on. So maybe I was going to actually just ask you.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should just hold our questions until
Yeah.
after we hear from the applicant team. And just, unless somebody has like a question they want to like lift up for the applicant team, and I do, so I'll pause to see if anyone else does. Okay, so my question is, actually for Rhonda. Rhonda, can you talk about the intersection of ADA and below market rate units? Like, are there a lot, is there a need for below market rate BMR ADA, below market rate ADA units?
Yes, good evening. Yes, definitely, there always are. And so there is a code requirement that each project has to provide a certain percentage of ADA or accessible units in every project. So those can be made available and are made available to BMR tenants or in ownership opportunities as well.
Okay, and this is all rental. And I guess I'm just noticing that there's one BMR unit and there's one ADA unit, and so I guess my question is, are they the same?
In this project, based on the plan set, and I think probably the planner can talk more about this, but no, there's two separate units. There's an ADA unit and then there's a BMR unit. The BMR unit is similar to the other units in the project.
Okay. All right, well, that was my clarifying question and additive question. I see Nevada has a hand up. Nevada?
I just wanted to piggyback on your question. I understand the California code requirement for ADA, and at the same time, I'm usually interested also in the extent to which the affordable units are adaptable. It's very hard to predict what kind of disability somebody has. And so what's nice to know is that whatever is in there can be, you can request a reasonable accommodation and have modifications to suit. So that's what my question is about.
Any other questions? Or should we invite the applicants? All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. According to Matt, we have about 5 minutes here to just do a quick intro. But also just for clarity, because this is just new to us, he told us that you guys all have the images, so we're not going to show any of that. Okay, good. All right, so first and foremost, I want to thank Matt Pruder, Associate Planner, and as well as you guys, the Housing Commissioners, for your partnership on this project. I am Jeremiah Tolbert and my associate Jennifer Price of Tolbert Design Architects, and we did this building in the background, Gymnastics Center. We are also joined by our clients, Margaret and Dan Beltramo tonight. They are natives of Menlo Park, with the Beltramo family being in Menlo Park since 1880. And if you guys are doing your math correctly, that's yes, before Menlo Park was officially Menlo Park. Their kids and their grandkids live here, and to say the least, they are established and rooted in this community. They are small local landlords and retail operators with a strong reputation, keeping well-maintained properties, being very generous to their tenants, especially now during COVID, where it's needed. And they are not deep-pocketed out-of-town developers. And Margaret and Dan are, it's just mom and pop outfit. And they're really excited about this project. And admittedly, it's also a huge undertaking for them and a little bit outside of their comfort zone. But nevertheless, they decided to collaborate with us, and we're working really hard to produce something that they and their grandkids and the town of Menlo Park could be proud of. So with that being said, from the very beginning of our design process, they've stressed that they didn't want to cut corners, and they wanted a quality building that they could hold on to for generations.
And so I will continue with the project description. As Jeremiah said, I'd just like to thank all of the commissioners for your time tonight, and to Matt, our planner, who's been working diligently with us through this process, and thank the members of the public for the opportunity to present our project tonight. The proposed townhouse project is located at the corner of San Antonio Street and Encinal Avenue, and will reconfigure a portion of the existing parking lot to construct a new 3-story townhouse development. The project will provide 8 residential units. And to help address the need for affordable housing, the project includes 1 BMR unit, as Matt stated earlier, and that BMR unit will be a 2-bedroom. The units in the development range from 2 to 3 bedrooms. The BMR unit will be available for rent, as all 8 townhouse units will all be rentals. The BMR unit shall be identified in the plan set upon initial lease up. However, the BMR unit will be floating, meaning that it may be in another location in the future. Now, this 2-bedroom BMR unit, which is number 5 in our current plan set, is approximately 1,640 square feet. Now, this is significantly larger than typical 2-bedroom units in the Bay Area that typically range from 800 to 1,000 square feet. The market rate units in our townhouse project range from approximately 1,640 square feet to 2,011 square feet. So our BMR unit is generally proportionate in size to and indistinguishable from the market rate units, consistent with the city's BMR guidelines. Furthermore, the BMR unit shall be indistinguishable from the market rate units in its location, interior, and exterior finish. Our proposed BMR unit has the largest private outdoor patio space at 216 square feet and the largest private balcony at 82 square feet. And it is significantly larger than typical Bay Area 2-bedroom units. And so if anyone has any further questions, we are more than happy to be responsive to those. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Heather, I see your hand.
Sorry, I was having a hard time unmuting. I'm new to the Housing Commission and I'm on a bit of a learning curve, so I apologize if this is an obvious question. You mentioned that the BMR unit would be floating. Does that mean it will be different parts of the same development, or does it potentially go to a different property?
It means that it could potentially be a different unit within our 8-unit townhouse development.
Okay. And then I was wondering about parking. You said will there be parking allocated for the units?
Yes, so each unit has an attached private 2-car garage that is at the ground floor level. And so the frontage of the 8-unit townhouse along San Antonio Street will not have any garages. And so you'll have to drive through a access aisle to access the 8 private garages. And that garage facade faces the existing parking lot that's currently servicing 1550 El Camino Real.
Any other clarifying questions before we go to public comment? Nevada, do you want to, oh, and Rachel, I see your hand, Rachel. And then I was wondering if Nevada wanted to ask the question about ADA adaptability, but Rachel, you raised your hand, so I'm going to call on you.
Okay. For everyone's benefit, can we go over the floating concept? We've talked about floating units before, but I think usually in the context of there being more than one below market rate unit in the development, probably functions the same way, but today this is unit 5. I think you said we've identified as the unit that will be affordable to low-income household. So low-income household moves in and into that unit once it's ready for lease up, and then when that family or that household moves out, or when that family or that household's income goes up, can you describe the circumstances under which the floating would take place?
I think what we mean by floating is that right now we have identified unit 5 for this, but like, for example, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, there's a mixture of 2 and 3 bedrooms. So it could potentially be one of the 3-bedroom units is what we meant by floating. Right, depending on, like you said, a family size too, right? So, but as of right now, it's we're calling it unit 5, right? So that's what we meant by floating. And our clients, the Beltramas, like kind of mentioned earlier, they are very generous and willing to work with their tenants. So if a tenant came in with a larger family, call it a family of 5, right? Parents are in 1 bedroom and kids share another bedroom, they might need a larger unit. So that's what we meant by that. But once it's established, then it's established. That's what it is. That's the BM, because people don't move in and out as fluently as so does that help answer your question, Rachel?
It does. And just as a quick follow-up, because I know there are other people with questions, what is the exact breakdown right now of 2 and 3 bedroom units across the 7 other?
Yeah, so currently there are, let me just double check. Currently there are 2 3-bedrooms and 5 2-bedrooms. Let me just confirm. Yes, that's correct. So 5 2-bedrooms and 2 3-bedrooms. Excuse me, 6 2-bedrooms and 2 3-bedrooms to make 8. Sorry.
Okay, John, I see your hand.
Thank you. This looks like a really interesting project, and the benefits that were laid out in terms of the square footage and the private patio and balcony and the parking all sound great. Is this project in full compliance with all of our normal regulations, zoning requirements, and other housing commission related requirements that we request of developers in its current status?
Yes.
Yes. We have, obviously we have to get past you guys to go to planning commission, but in terms of,
Sorry, Jeremiah, my question was for staff. From staff's perspective, is this in compliance with all of our city rules and regulations?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Pimentel. I can confirm that it is currently in compliance. We are able to determine that at this time. The project, we're having a few like fine tuning items being sorted out in terms of a resubmittal to prepare for the Planning Commission meeting itself. But I would also like to add, I did not mention earlier that this project is proposing base level development in the specific plan. And so the requirements for base level development differ from those when involving bonus level development. And so it is not seeking that higher level of development capacity, which would be involving some additional height limit increases and maximum GFA, FAR, floor area ratio increases. It is the lower of the two development standard requirements. So it is meeting those requirements, meeting the zoning in that regard. And then the specific plan compliance involves a series of guidelines and standards that are in the specific plan, and it is meeting those as well.
Great, thank you very much.
Are there any other clarifying questions? Okay. I have one for staff, which is if this were a bonus level development, how many housing units would be possible? I guess with this, I mean, just for the hypothetical, assuming the same footprint for the housing.
I'd have to apologize, Madam Chair. I don't have that information offhand. I can look it up now and try to quickly determine that. I would also add that there is kind of a range here with density. So it does depend on a few factors. One is the residential density itself. If this site were completely devoid of any development, factoring that in and focusing entirely on residential development and not having the office, for example, that would have a larger amount of floor area that you could develop for solely residential purposes. So I could look that up and follow up with you, maybe separately on that matter and give you a better sense, but it would be more, I believe it's, I'll have to look up in the specific plan. I believe it's 30 dwelling units per acre for the bonus. I can follow up. I apologize.
Okay. All right. I think perhaps we should go to public comment and then we can have some discussion. Mike, can you?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide public comment, please engage the raised hand feature now. I will then have the ability to open your microphone and you may address the Housing Commission with your public comment. And I'll just give it a second. If you're calling in, you'd want to push *9. And I do not see any public comments coming up, so I will return the meeting to the chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Discussion. Who would like to speak first? Well, I'll pick up where I left off with my question, which is, I don't know, can the development team talk to the question of, did you consider bonus level development? And just, first of all, I want to say it does look beautiful. I love the generosity of size for the BMR unit. I like the, pointing out that it's got the beautiful patio, extra large patio. It seems very nice. So thank you. And we just heard from two public comment speakers about the dire need, especially for special needs housing, but for all sorts of housing. This particular location is very transit friendly. So there's a few things that I'm curious about, and I don't know if there's room for improvements. But 2 parking spots per unit is perhaps more than the future markets will need. And the second one is the bonus level development question. And the third one is, did you consider eliminating the office since we have a huge jobs to housing imbalance? You know, people, as we're talking about building more homes, people are saying we should get rid of some offices. You know, here's a place where we could potentially, I mean, there's all sorts of factors involved, I know, but this is the Housing Commission. So how can we, you know, would it be possible to get more housing, more affordable units, and perhaps more accessible units out of this precious piece of land on El Camino?
Jennifer, do you want me to take this?
Sure, you can start and then I'll just add in.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for your question. Yeah, so we definitely looked at, we did feasibility studies going back to 2017 on this. And, you know, what can we get? But also, as I shared before, you know, the Beltramos are no different than you guys are. And so they do have the building in front. This is their property. So that's the plus on that end. Parking, when they built this building 30 plus years ago, the office building on 1550 El Camino Real, the zoning to parking ratio was much higher then. So it's less now. And so they took that opportunity to split the lot to add housing. They don't feel comfortable doing anything greater than the number that it's just the way it penciled out. Than the number that we are at right now at 8 units. Yes, we could tear down buildings and all that kind of stuff, but once again, this is their office building. So it's part of their legacy as well. Jennifer?
It would be super helpful though to us as we're planning our next housing element to understand why it wasn't like, you know, why we would like for all of the forces in the city to guide people to the decision that they want to maximize the housing capacity of every site. So if you could tell us, and I don't mean this in a challenging, complaining, I want more kind of way, but just in an informative way, like what were the forces that made the Beltramos want to keep it at 8 and not go for more?
Well, that is a great question, Madam Chair. And so initially when the Beltramos and we were looking at investigating constructing 8, 10, 12, and 15 units on the site, we went to a local investment company to do a pro forma for the Beltramos. And at that time in 2017, we were looking at much more reasonable cost per square foot for the project, and essentially any higher unit count, meaning anything greater than 8 units, would require us to go to subterranean parking, which, as you know, is 2x the cost in construction because of all of that excavation and shoring work, as well as the podium and pier construction, which is a bit more expensive than the Beltramos were comfortable with doing. And so recently we went out to a local general contractor with the plans that we have so far to get a preliminary cost estimate. And those costs were quite a bit higher than what the Beltramos received in 2017, to the factor of 3, almost 4x more for surface level development. And so the major force was the economic factor that, constructing any larger than 8 units would require subterranean parking, which is just not feasible in terms of financing at this time. And so the current project cost for our 8 units is significantly higher than what the Beltramos initially thought that this development would cost. And so we're still working through that. So so hopefully that's helpful. And so in terms of preserving the existing office building, which is 18,000 square feet, which is at the front of 1550 El Camino Real, at the front of the property, it is still, economically viable and is still a great asset for the Beltramos. And so that is the reason why they would like to preserve that office space. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Sure.
Chelsea.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for the presentation.
Of course.
Can you tell me at this time, what is the price range they are intending to rent those units? What number is that for the 2 and the 3 bedrooms?
Well, so to be honest, we haven't gotten that far yet in pricing out what the rental market will be at, just because, we don't know when we'll be going to construction and when our project will be approved. And so, I would hate to quote something, that is like 2 to 3 years out. And so,
I apologize for interrupting, but I'm not asking that because obviously the project has to be profitable for the Beltramo, clearly.
Yes.
Yes. So they must have it. It's so implausible that they didn't even price it out at this moment. I'm not talking about 3 years from now because they could be doubling the amount based on the market rate. But I find it hard to believe that they are not taking that into consideration between the project cost and how much profit they would make for those 7 units. It's just inconceivable to me. So I'm just asking you, I mean, I know what the number is in the Bay Area. I'm just asking, what are they asking? Especially it comes with a nice, 2-car garage. That's a huge thing. And I know that's gonna be extraordinarily, I mean, I can tell it's gonna be an extraordinarily at a very high rate to rent out these 7 units, forgetting about the BMR for now. But surely you must be able to give us that information.
Well, Chelsea, the Beltramos are here tonight, so if you want to hear directly from them.
Okay. I would like to, yeah, that would be really great.
Okay.
Yes, because this is a conversation that we have yet to have with our clients. And so, we have not even broached that subject. There have just been so many other issues to address in terms of the comments that we've been receiving from the city and trying to be responsive with them and trying to work with all of the other partners from, the post office to Recology, the refuse collection folks, and then our neighbors next door. And so we just haven't had that conversation yet. And so I'm not sure if the Beltramos are wanting to speak, but that's also something that we could, talk to the clients about and then get back to the Housing Commission once we've had a chance to speak with them offline.
That's fine. I would like to have that information. Thank you.
Sure, happy to.
Mike, do you have a way to communicate with the Beltramos and see if they care to comment or?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this item,
Or maybe,
as far as the market rate rents, it wouldn't typically be in the Housing Commission's purview, I believe, from past practice. So I don't see a hand raised in the attendees list at the moment. So
Okay.
Uh,
Right.
From my point of view, it doesn't seem like that would be, oh, I do see a hand raised, so I can, give me one moment.
Okay.
And I believe Margaret or Dan should be able to unmute themselves now. And I believe that Mr. and Mrs. Beltramo, I believe Margaret, if that's you who have promoted, you'll need to unmute. I can try and unmute you. Oh, there it goes.
If we had to rent these apartments today, they would be renting between $4,500 and $5,000 per unit.
Thank you. That sounds about right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have another question that might be for you, so don't go away yet. Which is there a plan to convert these to ownership units anytime in the future?
No, there's not. There'll always be rentals because it's all on one parcel. It was not divided into two separate lots, so they have to stand as rentals.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
Nevada, do you want to explore the question you had about adaptability?
Oh, that's probably a question for the architect. If you have an answer for that, I would love to understand that particular component if you remember the question.
Yeah, you one more time though. I know the gist, but I want to make sure we hit everything.
So beyond the building code requirements that California has for ADA units, are you intending for the other homes to be adaptable?
The other homes could be adaptable. It's just the way our design is. They're kind of similar floor plans and layouts. And so one being that we have larger units than typical allows us the flexibility for clearances and those sort of things. So yes, they could be converted. They could be adaptable. Yes.
The items that you usually see that if you're planning ahead of time, are things like grab bars in the bathroom or the backing so that grab bars could be installed later,
exactly,
countertops that could be dropped, a dishwasher that could come and load out the front instead of, so there's, a host of things that an individual with a disability might request. And with a little thought ahead of time, it usually is not a huge ticket in terms of cost to do that, whatever that modification may be. And, it's very hard in my experience to be able to predict it. Somebody needs a roll-in shower, but then the next person who moves in has a family and they want to bathe their kids in a bathtub. So, everybody is using their homes differently, but there are some things out there. So,
and I was going to say, and you kind of took the words out of my mouth, that there's a lot of things that we do during construction, like putting in backing for future grab bars, because you may not need a grab bar in your shower or want one if it's there, but if we already have the backing, for example, we know it's there, we could add the grab bar later. So yes, there are a lot of techniques, and a lot of those things aren't that much more expensive. From framing standpoint, just have it there beforehand. And like I said, having wider doorways and that sort of thing, which we already have, it's so much easier than to widen a door later after the fact, that sort of thing, and clearances.
What about
would you just be open to as a information, providing to your planner after this meeting, what you are considering in terms of putting into the plans? And it's really just a request and for information that as your project advances, if you could share that with us, that might be helpful, given some of the other comments that we've heard earlier today about the breadth of the many requests that the disability community has for housing in Menlo Park, and that would be great to have that information. So is that something that your team is open to doing?
Sure, we're definitely not opposed to it. We're doing it anyways for one of our units, so it'll be the same information. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would appreciate the clarification. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. I did not look that carefully at the plans. Each unit is 3 floors. So how does a person in a wheelchair get up and down?
Yeah, so for those and from a housing standpoint, code standpoint, the lower units should still have a bedroom, bathroom, those sort of things from a code standpoint, and so that's why we identified one of the larger units, and it's easier to have that lower bedroom, sort of situation. So there, from a code standpoint, you don't have to have the kitchen on the ground floor, and so you have to have a bathroom, bedrooms, and a space to come in. So yes. So it's not commercial. It's not the same as commercial. The code doesn't translate that way, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Do we have any more comments? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll
Matt?
move to approve the as proposed to the commission.
I'll second.
Right. Matt, did you want to say something? Or do you want to not overclose?
I think we're at a great point. I will follow up with you offline. I'm still working on that research for the density information for you. So I'll provide that separately.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Sorry for the interruption.
That's right. Okay, so Mike, why don't you do a roll call vote for us? And
Will do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Leach.
Approve.
Thank you. Commissioner Merriman.
Yes.
Commissioner Nguyen.
Abstain.
Commissioner Pimentel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Horst.
Aye.
And Chair Grove.
yes, aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0-1 with Commissioner Nguyen abstaining.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Beltramo. All right, so we will move on to reports and announcements. We're making up for our last meeting being record long, and this one may be record short. But I know that we have an update from the ad hoc subcommittee. So Rachel, would you care to give our BMR guidelines ad hoc update?
Absolutely. Thank you. As we discussed a couple times, I think at least at our last meeting, probably the one before that, there is an ad hoc subcommittee to amend the city's BMR guidelines. Tonight, we wanted to provide an update on where we are at with our work as an ad hoc subcommittee, and also just to provide general clarification and clarification on ad hoc subcommittees, I suppose. So as you know, ad hoc subcommittees form at various times from the Housing Commission whenever we have work that we need to get done that is time sensitive or time intensive. The work can't be done during a regular Housing Commission meeting. And right now we have just one. In the past, we've had multiple ad hocs, and the hallmark of the ad hoc is that it can't consist of more than 3 members. That would otherwise constitute a quorum of the Housing Commission. So under the Brown Act, there are two types of subcommittees that can be formed. We've got the ad hocs and then we've got a standing subcommittee. So we generally form the ad hocs because we're working on discrete projects that need to be done within a short period of time, again, and it does not require publication of agendas or minutes, and these meetings just occur between the three members of the ad hoc. In this particular case, we had an ad hoc that consisted of myself, the chair, Chair Grove, and Commissioner Bigelow. So we've been working over the past few months to go through the BMR guidelines and develop a comprehensive list of modifications that we will recommend ultimately to City Council, but we will first bring before the full Housing Commission. So I'm not going to go over every single one of those tonight. I think there are 31 that we're currently looking at. But what we've done is we've gone through these proposed modifications and we prioritized them, and we've identified what resources are required to research those modifications and ultimately make recommendations, and then also what the timeline is for those items. Some of the items can be achieved relatively in a relatively short period of time. They're administrative in nature, and then there are other recommendations or modifications that will go all the way up to City Council for consideration, and that would be fundamental changes to the BMR program. So based on the work that we've done thus far, we've identified 3 high priority items that we're going to bring before the Housing Commission for discussion in an upcoming meeting. So not this evening, as it was not agendized as a discussion topic. This is just an update. But just to let you know what the 3 high priority items are that we have arrived at. They're very interrelated, but the first is amending the requirement for rental units, the affordability requirement. So right now, as we have all learned as we've reviewed projects like the one we've reviewed tonight, there are different requirements depending on the size of the development. So for 5 to 9 units, what our BMR guidelines currently say is it is preferred that the developer provide a BMR unit. And if that's not possible, to pay an in lieu fee. For 10 to 19 units, the developer provides not less than 10% of the units, but at rates, at below market rates to very low, and moderate income households. And then for over 20 units, not less than 15%, that's where our 15% kicks in. But again, at below market rates to very low, and moderate income households. So what we've been discussing in past meetings and what the ad hoc committee has been looking into is how to sharpen those requirements. And in particular, looking at the affordability levels. So we're looking into requiring rental units that are affordable to low income households or an equivalent alternative, rather than the language that ranges from very low all the way up to moderate income households. Related to that, of course, is the in lieu fee payment, which we've also discussed at length in past meetings. So if we're going to be looking at amending the affordability requirement for units that are provided either on-site or off-site, then of course we have to also be looking into updating the in lieu fee. We've discussed before pegging that in lieu fee to, as we call it, the point of indifference, that is indifference to the developer as to whether they provide the unit or pay the in lieu fee, so that there is not essentially an incentive to pay an in lieu fee rather than to provide the unit. So that's the second thing we're looking into and we'll bring before the Housing Commission. And then the third is to amend the preferences section of the BMR guidelines. Preferences, that is a local preference for individuals who live and work in the city of Menlo Park, but also those who were displaced. We have very particular language in our BMR guidelines right now that provide a preference for individuals or households who were displaced due to the financial crisis in 2008. So we have, again, for those commissioners who've been on the commission, had discussion about amending that language. So that's the third thing that we are really homing in on and will bring before the commission at a future meeting. We've identified these also as the most time sensitive, particularly with the housing element update taking place and with major projects in the city's pipeline. We've talked about SRI, the USGS site, these large projects where a requirement like the one I was discussing that requires certain affordability levels will make a huge difference in the types of units that we yield from these projects. So we will come forward with those three at a future meeting. There will be a staff report and there will be full discussion by the full commission before we take any action and make recommendations to the city council. Commissioner Bigelow is not here, so I would ask Chair Grove to fill in any blanks that I might have created in that explanation, or any questions that the rest of the commission might have.
I'll just add a little additional explanation to the update to the preferences. When we added inclusion of people who had been displaced during the financial crisis. That was a revision that we made back in about 2017. When we did that, at the meeting when we were voting on it, we realized that we had made an error of language. And so we only gave preference to people who were displaced in the year 2008, or it was 2009, one single year. But if they had hung in there till 2010 and were displaced in 2010, they have no preference. So we're in 2021 and we're trying to fix the error that we made in 2017. So this is something, as we were going through the priorities, I was like, this is going to the top. We need to fix this. So that is just a little more color to the description that Rachel provided. We tried to fix it in the moment in the meeting, and we were told that we were changing policy and the staff report had gone out and we couldn't do that. So, so the way it works sometimes. I see your hand, John. Go ahead.
Quick question and an idea. Question, how do we determine whether or not somebody was displaced 13 years ago by the economic crisis? How do you
so we can't have discussion on this now. I don't think we can get into that now.
Okay,
but
no problem.
But I heard
second is the Nevada raised a really good point today about if it's not that much more expensive, in fact, it may even be minimal, to build the infrastructure around a unit so that it could be adapted to not just ADA, but disability usage. Is that something that we should include in not necessarily BMR revisiting, but a recommendation we might make to the city council for a building code change to do that for everything? I mean, if we're going to change the building code to be rid of natural gas, maybe something simple like this and would be something we could just make a standard operating procedure and eliminate the uncertainty for a developer who might be proposing a project in Menlo Park.
I think I'll just say thank you for your comment or question, because this is an informational update, we're not supposed to have a discussion, but
understood. Thank you.
But please mention that during our discussion when this item does come before the full commission, because I think that would be, that would be a good discussion.
Yeah. Let's see, was there anything else? Oh, the other thing that Rachel didn't mention is the SB 330 projects, which is part of why this is super timely. When we have a project coming through that's only, because of SB 330, we can only review it 5 times in public meetings. It makes it all the more important that our BMR requirements are very clear and truly express what we need in our community, because there's no time to go back and forth and say, well, could you look at this and come back next time? And we can't do that on these projects. So that's why it's very timely. Another reason that it's timely. So that's it, Rachel. Great job. Thank you for the update. And I think, does anybody else have, no, that would be the only ad hoc committee update. So we'll move on to commissioner updates. Do we have any commissioner updates? Upcoming conferences, workshops. I am attending the nonprofit housing conference on Friday, September 20 something, the last Friday in September.
24th.
24th. It's online, no commute. I hear it's a really great conference and I've never attended. I've never had a full day and the time to commute. This year I can do it, so. And I think people can still register if they're interested.
Thank you for putting a plug in for the conference, Karen. A proposal that I submitted has been selected at that conference about Project Home Key. So if you attend that conference in that session, then let me know ahead of time. So that would be great. I did want to mention that our former colleague, Meg McGraw-Shera, who works for the California Housing Partnership, that organization just put out, I believe today, and I can send a link to Ms. Kaufman, and I hope she can distribute it to all of the commissioners about key housing indicators, including rates at which homeless people have been housed and many different ways of slicing and dicing the information by disparate impacts related to race. So that could be something that is a resource for this commission. It's pretty easy to use and you can poke around and see kind of what the state of play is. And that is a deep housing nerd resource tool that as I said, as I started, our former commissioner, Meg McGraw-Shera, is part of. I wanted to lift that up. And then a third piece, if you listened to Kai Risdall's Marketplace today, you'll hear that a separate report from the Journal of American Medicine Association, I think that's it, JAMA, published a study related to the impact of the federal Center for Disease Control, CDC moratorium. No surprise there, but housing is healthcare in a pandemic. And we should be grateful that in California, our moratorium has been extended through the end of the month to September 30th. But the risk of COVID, of course, is much greater in places where the eviction moratorium has gone away. And that also has a compounding there are compounding impacts because those are also some places where the spread is high and certain types of restrictions or such as wearing masks are not being enforced. So that's just something to look at. And, what I would trying to connect the dots of things that are happening, on the radio and what's relevant in our city is that, for another 30 days or so, we have those protections, and then at such time they will be lifted unless our local representatives, Senator Becker, our Assemblyman Berman, et cetera, if they vote to extend it. So everybody on this call has a ability to advocate for what is something that's very important to protect not only the health of people who may be evicted, but all of our health. So I will send those links to Ms. Kaufman and ask her to distribute. And thank you for allowing me a small moment of advocacy there as to what we all can do to continue to protect our health. Thanks.
Thank you. I have one more update I almost forgot, which is in planning this agenda, we had hoped to have another housing element update. But unfortunately, planning staff and consultants were unable to accommodate our request. But they pointed us to the August 31st City Council staff report, in which there is an informational update on the status of the housing element, with a lot of information about the outreach that has been going on and where they're at in the process and what's coming up. So I point you to that. It's, I think, based on the file name, because I have the link here, it might be J3, but it's under informational items on the agenda. And it is in fact informational. So that concludes my updates. Does anybody else have any other updates? Okay, any recommended future agenda items? They're planning a joint meeting between the Housing Commission and the Planning Commission on site location for the housing element, and hopefully Rhonda will give us an update on that in a moment.
In response to the first two comments, which were very similar, I would like to have some information, if it's possible for staff, to frame out for us a little bit some of the various disabilities and how they are being considered in the housing element update, but also in our housing policies. I am familiar with Ms. Shepherd and also with Ms. Webster. And I do believe that in the case, at least of Ms. Webster's group, Housing Choices, it is very clear that the constituency she represents, they suffer discrimination in the housing market, and often it is cumbersome or burdensome to go through the process of obtaining subsidized housing, which someone with an intellectual disability is going to be at a disadvantage out the gate. So if we could, I appreciate those comments, and if we could take a look at that, that would be helpful, because there are many different types of disabilities that the city should be planning for. But those callers represented, I think, some that are particularly, it's particularly easy as a mother to relate to the predicament those families are in. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I think I read that 25% of people have some sort of disability, and a disproportionate number of our homeless people have disability. Or anyway, there's a link, and I appreciate that comment. Thank you. Other updates, or sorry, we're on future agenda items. If not, we'll move on to staff updates and announcements. So Rhonda, would you join us? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Good evening. Thank you. So just, I only have the one update for you, and unfortunately I don't have an exact date, but the Calvin Chan and Deanna Chow and the M Group, the consultant working on the housing element, are trying to find a date where the Planning Commission and Housing Commission can hold a joint meeting to discuss the housing element and site strategies, site selection strategies. So I think we didn't have a firm date as of today, but they're looking at late September or early October. So you should watch for an email, either Mike Noche or probably Calvin Chan or the consultant, or someone will be sending you an email to poll you. And with that, there might be, I think they'll poll you also to see your availability, determine your availability for holding that joint meeting and possibly holding your regular meeting fairly close to it. So look for that in your email soon. So that's, and then did you, I think, I'm not sure if everybody saw that last night there was a housing element update, an informational report that went to City Council that provides a little bit of information. So while they were not able to attend tonight, I would point you to that City Council agenda to get some updated information in that report. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Is that the only announcement you have to make, Rhonda? Because I wanted to piggyback onto another announcement, but you haven't made it.
Oh, okay. I did. Okay. I did send an email to the Housing Commission. Wanted to let you know this will be my last meeting. My last day with the city will be next week. So I just wanted to, again, as I said in my email, I've appreciated the deep commitment and knowledge and the hard work of this commission and the various commission members that are currently on the commission and previous ones that I've had the pleasure of working with. I've really enjoyed and appreciated supporting your efforts over the last 2.5 years, and I wish you all the best and think you have a great group to work on and move forward a lot of policy related to producing, protecting, and preserving affordable housing for this community. So thank you for allowing me to be of service. That's all.
Thank you. And the reason I wanted you to make that announcement is I wanted to thank you for your contribution to our work, because before you joined the city, we had really great people in charge of housing, but they didn't have skill set and the years of experience that you have. And when you came on board, things started happening. And I just jotted down all the things that I can remember that you got done in your few years here. And it's exhaustive and it's almost exhausting. And just so that everybody can appreciate you, I wanted to just go over it real quick. When I first met with you, I've been on the BMR's, it used to be called a subcommittee, now it's an ad hoc committee, since I joined the Housing Commission. So many iterations, many delays, and I had a long list of things that we were going to do next, and went over them with you, and you're like, oh, well, that's that. You just knew everything about them. It's like you knew how it should be done. So that was like, yay, felt great. So I'm glad we're getting around to making those changes now. You applied for a couple of grants to help us start the housing element early. You got the grant, another grant to help us streamline our ADU development program, got the grant. You sent our BMR administration contract out for bid, and we ended up with house keys for whom we're paying less and getting more service, and also more culturally competent service for the community that applies for BMR housing. We updated our short-term rental ordinance to collect the transient occupancy tax, so that's going to be bringing money, sorry about my dog, into the city's general fund, which I will say to all of us, we should keep an eye on, because it's going into the general fund, but we should take note of how much it is, because our work helped generate it, and we're going to need funding for affordable housing as we go forward. Because one of the other things that we've done with Rhonda's support is update our NOFA so that we could actually distribute $10 million, over $10 million from our fund for 3 excellent projects and programs, which I've gone over in a previous meeting, so I won't go over them again, but that was super exciting. Rhonda, you've helped Mike come up to speed, so we look forward to working with Mike in the coming weeks and months. And another thing that's maybe invisible to many is your work with the homeless population in Menlo Park. This used to be solely the job of the police, and that is not a great humanitarian way to respond to people who don't have homes. Rhonda brought in a whole team from the county, a homeless response team approach. And if y'all remember the woman who used to live outside of Pharmaca, she is now in housing. And that was through tireless interactions that Rhonda had patiently over a period of time, persuaded her to accept help, and she now has help. So I have a few more things on my list. The partnership with Samaritan House, which has helped, I think, 30 families stay housed during this crisis. But I'll stop and just say thank you so much. We're going to miss you a lot, and you're leaving very big shoes to fill, but you have raised the bar, and I hope that we keep it there as we move forward. So thank you. With that, let me bring up our agenda again. I think we're ready to adjourn.
May I also just offer my
Yes.
thanks to Rhonda, and I will share as an observation. I am lucky enough to have, you covered it well, what the commission, the work that we did together on the commission. I'm also lucky enough in my former job to have worked with Rhonda in her capacity at Redwood City. And what I will say there is that often the work that city staff does is putting things in place that they may not see at the time that they're there. And we know that because you can go to downtown Redwood City and see completed affordable homes for seniors, and that there's often a lag between the work that you put in and when everybody else gets to see that product and that result of that effort. And I believe that that will be part of your legacy. So thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
can I also add, take the floor. Thank you so much, Rhonda. I feel like there's such a difference between the time before Rhonda and the time after. And for us on the Housing Commission, I mean, it's really not an exaggeration. I think we really didn't feel like we had very much traction until you came to Menlo Park, and we never looked back. I mean, it's just like night and day. So we're deeply appreciative of that. You always say there's such knowledgeable people on the Housing Commission, but I feel like I've learned from you being on the Housing Commission. So it's a two-way street, and we are sorry to see you go, but like Commissioner Merriman just said, we will have a lot to look to in the future that has your handprints on it. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I was on mute. But what I was saying is pregnant pause in case someone else wants to jump in, but seeing no one doing that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:56. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.